Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And with this one, highly anticipated class, the Restoration Shaman. I'm going to be doing an overview of all of the spells and abilities and talents moving into the next expansion and start talking about how amazing this class is looking moving forward. So if you're interested in trying to find a new class to main, or you're kind of on the fence with the Shaman as a whole, you're definitely going to know whether or not you should by the end of this video. So without further ado, let's take a look at the talents. The talent trees are going to be broken down into class with Shaman on the left and then spec specific on the right. Restoration Shaman is getting a lot of abilities moving forward into this next expansion. So if you're somebody that wants to potentially avoid some keybinds, you may want to build your talent tree differently or possibly avoid the specialization, which would be my only kind of critique towards the Shaman right now, is that there are a lot of new spells. For some people it's going to be great, for others maybe not so much, and we'll talk about those ones specifically as we move into them. First of all, we've got Chain Heal, which is automatically locked in when you're Restoration, as well as the Lava Burst talent. Then you're going to have the options of picking up Astral Shift, which you could choose to not pick if you felt like you didn't need a personal damage reduction cooldown, which could be useful in PvE if you know there's like no raid damage of any significance, which would let you get better utility or damage reduction for allies towards the bottom of the tree. So a lot of unique customization. Chain Heal to pick up possibly for some damage, and there are some really cool ways to do damage on Restoration Shaman here in Dragonflight. Of course, Earth Elemental, which is now going to have the conduit baked into it, granting you 15% of your maximum HP as you're moving forward. Going to be super good as a PvP talent. Wind Shear, of course, to pick up as an interrupt, but maybe there's some encounters or fights where you don't feel like you're going to need an interrupt. You could choose to lose that interrupt and pick more mana regeneration, and this is what I meant by a lot of unique customization, even within the wall itself, choosing to make your wall a more powerful cooldown, but it's going to be a longer cooldown, or to reduce its cooldown. These are types of customization that you're going to have available on the Shaman. Going after Ghost Wolf talents to remove snares and increase it, giving you a little burst of speed with the Thunderous Paws, or the Spirit Wolf talent to make your Ghost Wolf a little bit more durable if there's situations where you want to go for a wolf build. And then of course Frost Shock if you want to be going for ranged snares. Maybe you've got too many snares in your group, then you don't have to go for this talent. Maelstrom Weapon, which honestly feels a bit strange, but being honest, if you're able to get a couple of melee attacks with your Primal Strike and get these while people are training you, it might get you to a free healing surge, similar to how Holy Paladins generate Holy Power with Crusader Strike. So there might be some unique opportunities to incorporate this in PvP scenarios, in PvE possibly, but I feel like your melee attacks are pretty lackluster on the damage overall, and let alone to have the time to do this. So this is kind of some cheeky gameplay. Earth Shield, of course, which is kind of the core component of Resto Shaman. I can't imagine you wouldn't want to take this unless single target was entirely unnecessary, but it connects into some other pretty important talents that I think you're not going to want to miss. Fire and Ice to increase your fire and frost damage by 3%. So if you want to focus on doing damage as a Resto Shaman, your Lava Bursts are going to be bumped up. It doesn't affect nature, so your Chain Lightnings and your Stormkeeper builds might not be too great, unfortunately, with this. Capacitator Totem, so if you want an AoE stun, you can go for it. If you feel like it's not going to be too helpful, you can completely avoid it and forego it for something like Tremor Totem. Improved Purify Spirit. This is now going to allow you to remove curses. So if you feel there's a situation where there's no curses of any sort of priority, you can get away with not running this. Wouldn't recommend it into Warlocks with Curse of Tongues. You may be reliving the TBC days if you do that. Focused Insight, which is casting Flame Shock, will now reduce the mana cost of your next heal and increase its healing effectiveness by 15%. So this focus of weaving in damage and healing, which is awesome. This is the type of playstyle that Discipline Priest has, and it's really nailed a super fun playstyle. So it's incorporating a little bit of it without completely kind of copy pasting the Atonement. Love talents like this. Elemental Orbit, increase the number of elemental shields you can have active on yourself. So you could have a water shield and an earth shield, really good for mana regeneration as well as damage reduction and healing towards yourself. And you can get the honor talents, which is unleash shield, so you might be able to get like a root and the water on the ground for the Mortal Wounds effect in PvP. Could be super fun in PvP. Spirit Walker's Grace, of course, really powerful spell to move while casting. Just kind of a filler note here with Leech and Avoidance. Tremor Totem, but if you think there's a situation where fear is not going to be too relevant, you don't need to go for this. So there's going to be a lot of different loadouts that you're going to need to cover. And if you're interested in figuring out those loadouts along with me, make sure you hit the subscribe button on the channel, because I'm doing my best to give you guys these deep dives, these informational videos, so that you're prepared. You can pick the right class, you know what's coming coming at you, moving forward into Dragonflight. Of course, you can talent into Hex, but if you think it's not going to be too useful, you can opt for more throughput, more unique utility, or crowd control instead. Flurry, increase the attack speed by 15% for your next 3 melee swings after dealing critical strike with a spell or an ability. Again, I really don't know if you're going to be able to incorporate this too much with like a melee resto build. But if you wanted to try and be cheeky, you could. I'm thinking it's unlikely at this point. Then you can empower your Spirit Walker's Grace to provide you immunity to silence and interrupts, or to reduce its cooldown and also increase its movement speed. I'm imagining in PvP you're going to want the immunities, but maybe in PvE where you need to move and cast a lot in an encounter, it'd be useful to have it on a lower cooldown. Of course, then Earth Grab Totem on the talent trees for your ranged root, which you could then opt to take Wind Rush. I think Wind Rush is going to be more of a PvE situation, Earth Grab more of a PvP one. Then you can empower your Purge to Greater Purge, making it a 15-second cooldown, but it's going to remove 2 buffs. So if you want to be more mana efficient and get high value on the purges, you could go for this, or you can just run standard Purge with no cooldown, but only 1 Purge per target. You can then move into Enfeeblement. I think this is honestly a dead talent where a target will be snared by 70% after a Hex ends. And then Voodoo Mastery, which is going to reduce the cooldown of your Hex. If you want to be that spam Hexer, you can try and go for a build like that, focused on more crowd control. Nature's Fury, which is going to increase the crit chance of your nature spells, so getting big healing crits out, especially when targets are low with how your mastery works, could be a lot of fun. Totemic Surge reduces the cooldown of your totems by 2 seconds, 4 seconds total value, so some really cool kind of cooldown reduction for your healing stream totems and synergies towards buffing them with talents deeper in the tree. Then you get Elemental Warding to take less damage. It's going to be super helpful in PvP situations, I can imagine. Nature's Guardian, when your health is brought below 35%, you're going to instantly heal, so just the classic Nature's Guardian. You could choose to run more or less points into this if you wanted to, or maybe not at all if you think you're not a target. And then Winds of Alakir, increasing the movement speed of your Ghost Whip by 5%, and when you have 3 or more totems, you're going to get 7% movement speed, and you can put 2 talent points into this. And then Ancient Ankh Talisman, while Reincarnation is off cooldown, your maximum health is increased by 10%, and while you are at full health, Reincarnation cooldown 75% faster, which now has been brought to my knowledge that this is going to be good for progression rating where you're wiping a lot, but aside from that, I'm not sure, especially in PvP where you would want to fit this in. Healing Stream Totem you're going to have to talent for. Improved Lightning Bolts. This is where we're starting to get into the cheekiness of this Resto Shaman build and the possibilities, because there's some curious things you could do possibly with Stormkeeper and Lightning Bolts. Totemic Projection, which is going to allow you to relocate your active totems to a specified location, so you might set up your Shaman nest and then want to move it somewhere else so it doesn't get killed off, because you got a lot of high value totems, so a lot of kind of outplay mechanics here with this ability. And then Gust of Wind returning from Legion, which is honestly one of my favorite abilities. I love stuff that's like this because it's mobility that you can jump up Z-axis, but also has outplay. If somebody sees you going for it, they can root you down on it instantly, so super interactive spell. And then you're going to also have access to the Enhancement Shaman ability, previously only Enhancement Shaman ability, Spirit Walk, 1 minute cooldown, remove root, and sprint really fast, so depending on if you want to just be getting out of roots possibly. I think you can use this in Solar Beam with Root Solar Beam, so it could be super powerful against Boomkins. I don't know why I just notified you all of that. I'm going to regret doing that in the future, I'm sure. And then Swirling Currents, using Healing Stream increases the healing of your next 3 healing surges or healing waves or Riptides by 12%. So again, great synergies with the Totemic Surge, giving you more cooldown reduction. You're going to get Nature's Swiftness for instant damage, maybe some NS Lightning Bolts if you really want to get cheeky. And then this is the one where my first critique comes in. Thunderstorm has always been like a classic elemental spell, and I don't really feel cool with it coming into Resto and Enhancement world. I would honestly rather see Thunderstorm move to either baseline Ellie or into the Ellie tree. And I know all you Resto Shamans are like, oh, give me that Thunderstorm. I just don't feel like it fits in there, and that's my own personal opinion. But tell me what you think. I think I see that as only an Ellie Shaman spell though. Totemic Focus, increasing the radius of your totems by 7%, increases the duration of your Earth Grab and Earthbind, increases the duration of your Healing Stream, Mana Spring, Tremors, and Poison Cleansing Totem, Ancestral Protection. Basically all your totems will get longer duration, so you can get them down longer with a shorter cooldown. Try and get a lot of totem uptime, be more totem focused. Surging Shields increases the damage of Lightning Shield, increase the healing done of Earth Shield, and the amount of mana recovered from Water Shield. You're going to be really powerful in PvP when you're actually getting hit with these shields. And then go with the flow, reduces the cooldown of Spirit Walk by 7.5 seconds, or reduces the cooldown of Gust of Wind. 2 points. That's a lot of points for a very minor shift. And again, I think Spirit Walk is one of those things where it's like a counter to Root Beam, but other than that, you wouldn't need to reduce the cooldown of it. Mana Spring Totem, going to be super useful as kind of utility. You're going to want to build that healer group and get a Shaman in with a Mana Spring Totem so that they can be regenerating mana to their teammates. They're going to be doing this through both damage and healing, with Lava Burst and Riptide providing mana. So that kind of that utility group-oriented play with Shaman is returning. And then they're going to be getting Lightning Lasso, which is going to be most potent, obviously, in PvP. I'm not sure where you're going to be able to fit this in PvE unless it does just remarkable damage on a single target. Or you can go Thunder Shock to have Thunderstorm knock enemies up rather than away, and its cooldown's reduced. So another pseudo interrupt on big AoE pulls, which can be really useful in Mythic Plus. But again, I don't really like Thunderstorm on Resto Shaman personally, so I almost kind of feel like it should move onto the Ellie tree. Poison Cleansing Totem, 45-second cooldown, totem on the ground that's going to cleanse poisons from all nearby party or raid members. It's going to be super useful on bosses that have poison effects to be able to remove. In PvP, this is really only against assassination rogues, and even then I'm not 100% sure. There are some talents to empower their poisons. We'll have to wait and see how relevant that is, but you will want to keep this in mind when facing rogues in PvP. Call of the Elements, this is 3-minute cooldown to instantly reset all of your cooldowns with a base cooldown of shorter than 3 minutes, so you can't reduce them with that other talent and then have them double tap like this for your Healing Tide totem. But again, just cycling in, getting a ton of totems on the ground, maybe a clutch double Tremor or a clutch double root to Earth Grab totem to catch somebody when they're running away, which could be super important. But you can already see how there's like 7 abilities that are unpruning from Shaman. Ancestral Guidance on the final tier, which is 25% of your damage and healing is converted to healing onto 3 nearby party members or raid members. So just a little bit of extra group healing. Or we move down into the Tranquil Air Totem, 1-minute cooldown. It's going to reduce the interrupt duration by 50% and remove pushback. So it could be really useful with a balanced druid with those fast cast cyclones in PvP where they're getting pushback on them. And then if they get kicked, it's like 0 seconds, they're casting that Cyclone again immediately. Could be really powerful with balanced Druid synergies with Shaman, or just Druid Shaman in general. Or Stone Skin Totem, a 30-second cooldown totem that's going to provide 10% physical damage reduction. Kind of thinking of it like the Fade for a Priest, at least in PvP. Now in raids, 10% physical damage could be a lot, with boss auto attacks generally contributing a lot, so it could be really useful in PvE as well. And then finally, Creation Core, Call of the Elements affects an additional totem, so you can get 2 totems reset, or you can reduce the cooldown of it to 2 minutes rather than 3 minutes. There might be a key moment where you want to get a double totem to get a lot of extra healing out or a lot of utility. Now moving on to the Restoration Shaman tree, we've got Riptide right off the bat, which we're going to want to go for, and we've got Healing Rain moving down towards the left, and I think it does kind of vibe with the left being focused more on healing talents, but we'll move down through it with Healing Rain being there. We've got Healing Wave in the middle if we want more efficient healing, and we can get that second charge of Healing Stream Totem with Healing Stream existing on both talent trees. On to the next wave, we've got Deluge, Healing Wave, Healing Surge, and Chain Heal. Heal for 10% more on targets affected by your Healing Rain or Riptide, and you can see that chain of Healing Rain continuing over. We can then talent into Water Shield. We can then go for Tidal Waves to try and get that single target healing. I'm imagining the right side is going to be almost always PvP. Left side, depending on if you need single target or healing, is going to be left for AoE and raid healing, group healing, and then the right for single target. Lava Surge, this is giving you those instant lava bursts. A lot of interesting weaving mechanics with the class tree, so I'm imagining this will be a great one to go for, or mandatory one to go for in all content. Flash Flood, when you consume Tidal Waves, the cast of your next heal is reduced by 10%. Again, giving you just more single target healing pumping out. That's what's caught my attention right now. Water Totem Mastery, consuming Tidal Waves reduces the cooldown of Healing Stream, Healing Tide, Mana Spring, Mana Tide, and Poison Cleansing Totem by 0.25 seconds. You could be getting a lot of totems on the ground, maybe like the Mists of Pandaria days. Spirit Link Totem, obviously really powerful cooldown in all content, likely gonna be a mandatory pick here. Master of the Elements, casting Lava Burst increases the damage or healing of your next nature's physical or frost spell by 10%. So again, more damage weaving, or you can choose to go for more personal survivability depending on if you think you're a target. And then we move to the far left, we've got Cloudburst Totem. That's kind of the sustained healing that's built up over time and explodes later on. Or Living Stream, Healing Stream Totem heals for 10% more each time it ticks. I'm starting to like this totem build at the moment while I'm looking through these talents, and I'm kind of just sticking to the right side to be consistent with where it is. Resurgence, your direct heals critically refund a percentage of your mana, giving you way more mana return, or your Echoing of the Elements. Healing Tide Totem, really powerful heal just in general, even if you're going for a single target build, so it's nice that it's close to the center so you can get it on an AoE build while going single target. Mana Tide Totem, really powerful effect. Torrent, initial healing of Riptide, really like these for PvP specifically. Earth Living Weapon, providing you an extra hot on all of your heals, so this is kind of a returning ability. Earthen Wall Totem or Res Totem, I think in my condition, probably going to be taking Earthen Wall Totem, which is just damage reduction every minute, as opposed to a 5-minute cooldown Resurrection. Earthen Harmony, which is the legendary, I think, from Shadowlands, going to give you even more Earth Shield healing. Insane synergies with this talent over here, so really powerful effects between both the trees. Undercurrent, for each Riptide active on an ally, your heals are 0.5% more effective. Could be interesting, bringing it over here onto the right with like an AoE healing build where you've got Riptides on a lot of targets potentially. Not really drawing my attention right now. And then towards the bottom, we can spec for Ascendance or we can spec for a proc Ascendance. So we've got two ways we can go into it. We can either go the Earth Warden way into it, or we can go the Undercurrent way into it. So 1% extra healing per Riptide, so like 3% if you had 3 of them, or we increase the Earth Living, and it always triggers on targets below 12% of their maximum health. This is a tough call as to which one I would want to go for. The passive healing seems a little bit safer, but also getting these proc descendants for big AoE heals could be super fun as well. And then we're only level 60, so we've run out of talents, but we would have more. The Ever Rising Tide, instant 30-second cooldown, overcharge your mana, increasing your haste and your healing by 10%. Again, another ability you're going to have to put in your action bar. While overcharge, your mana regeneration is halted, so you're taking a risk to just kind of spam out as many heals as you can. It's not really that much of a bonus for pausing your mana regeneration entirely, or Ascendance down here. So I'm changing my mind here with the build that I'd want to go for. I'd rather have an active Ascendance. I think this extra healing might not be too impactful in PvP at least. And then we can start moving over towards the left tree a little bit, it looks like. So every third healing wave or healing surge heals 50% more, or an Unleash build if you want just kind of passive healing. You can get maybe a Primordial Wave pickup instead. And I'm starting to wonder where the Stormkeeper was, because I could have sworn there was a Stormkeeper here, but I guess I'm mistaken. The Shaman trees, I'm confusing myself with the Shaman trees. I'm trying to find it. Oh no, it is over here. So unfortunately you'd have to go for an AoE build. So maybe it's the intention that Stormkeeper is supposed to be like a Mythic Plus thing, but that's really sad for PvP, because again, there's like lightning bolt buffs, there's spell weaving buffs. You get like an NS Stormkeeper with massive chain lightning. So if you wanted to do that, you could. For a PvP build to do damage, but you're gonna have to take a lot of these AoE healing talents focused around Healing Rain. Acid Rain will make Healing Rain do damage. Could maybe be powerful Mythic Plus, but I'm thinking, or in PvP, I'm thinking more Mythic Plus. Increases the damage of the Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning by 35%. Could be really insane with the Stormkeeper build for doing damage. Overflowing Shores, Healing Rain instantly restores 1 health to 6 allies within this area, and its radius is increased by 1 yard. Increase the duration of Riptide. That could be good for single target. I kind of wish that was here, or somewhere here in Healing Rain was not in the way to the damage talent, as like kind of a point of feedback for myself. Or you can be a Purge Ghost Wolf running around wind sharing, purging, and dropping some cleanse spirits as well without canceling your Ghost Wolf. Stormkeeper is going to be more fun though, I think, as Resto. Ancestral Vigor, targets you heal with Healing Wave, Healing Surge, Chain Heal, or Riptide's initial heal gain 5% increased health, so that kind of buffed HP. So you got some single target options here that could work as well in the AoE side of the tree. I almost wish that the Chain Heal was on the bottom so you could get all this stuff, but maybe you won't even be able to with all of the talents, but there's a lot still to be excited about. Flow of the Tides, casting Chain Heal on a target affected by Riptide consumes the Riptide, increases the healing of your Chain Heal, or increase the healing of Chain Heal by 8% and cause it to bounce an additional time. Again, really depends on how valuable Chain Heal is in this expansion as a heal as to whether or not you'd want to go for these. And then we can empower our Primordial Wave, which is going to increase the healing done by our next healing wave by 7% up to 14, and then Primordial Wave has a 15% chance to incur no cooldown, or reduce the cooldown of your Primordial Wave, just flat baseline, by 15 seconds to get you more Riptide ticks. So this spam Riptide healing stream build, I'm kind of imagining is going to be the strongest when it comes to PvP. And then in Mythic Plus, you're probably going to want to focus maybe more on the Chain Heal and more of the damage side, because healers tend to bring their value based on damage reduction and damage output as opposed to overall healing throughput. So that could be really fun for something like competitive Mythic Plus. We then have High Tide. Every 20 mana you spend brings a High Tide, making your next 2 Chain Heals heal additionally, and not reduced with each jump. Could be really fun as a Chain Heal build. A Primal Tide Core. Every forecast of Riptide also applies Riptide to another friendly target. So that's where this kind of Riptide synergy is coming in, where if you have as many Riptides as possible, so you can build your character around Chain Heal, build your character around Riptide, build your character around some hard casted single target heals, build your character around totems, whether you want to be more crowd control or mana regeneration. There's a lot of utility, a lot of keybinds honestly for it. I think it's really well done. It's bringing back a lot of kind of harkening back to some cool stuff with Shaman from the past, but it might be a little bit too much. And the main one for me is things like Thunderstorm being class specific at the moment, and then just how many on use effects there are. I'm not sure if there could be a way to turn some of these on uses into kind of like a passive or something. But that would be my main kind of concern or feedback for it. But I think it is really well done. Shaman looks fantastic moving forward into Dragonflight, and this is just the first iteration. So thank you very much for watching the video. If you want to stay up to date with Dragonflight news, funny and entertaining videos related to World of Warcraft as well, then hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts. Is this intriguing you to pick up the Shaman? Let me know, and thumbs up the video. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.